my mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. And Austin, what a surprising move for the Cavaliers at this trade deadline, getting James Harden, but sending Darius Garland to the Clippers.
Yeah, this is a trade that we talked about during our trade deadline discussion, but this is, I think, the biggest deal that took place. Yes, AD got traded. Yes, there were some other moves that were pretty sizable, but I think this was the biggest trade. Harden is averaging 25.5, 4, and 8 this season. This is the most points he's averaged since 2020, which is pretty remarkable. And now he's pairing with a guy who's averaging basically 30 points in Donovan Mitchell. And the Cavs are looking to contend this year, obviously, because of the injuries to Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. This is a very open year in the East. The 1-seed Pistons are 4.5 games above the 2nd-seed Celtics as we are recording. The Cavs are 3 games out of second place Celtics while they're in 4th. And there's really only 6 teams I consider contenders in the East right now. I will say that every team that makes the playoffs in the East will have a chance of making the finals because of the nature of the East right now. But Orlando and Miami, they're both 2 games and 1 game above 500 respectively. The Hawks have struggled. Now, while we will eventually this week have a video on the Hornets, they've won 8 straight as we're recording and have been remarkable. Their turnaround is catching my eye. So maybe there's 7 true contenders in the East. But the Cavs are going all in on this season. And James Harden's trying to return to the finals for the first time since he was there in 11-12 with the Thunder. But are the Cavs now contenders in your mind for this season?
I would say so. They are contenders with moving for James Harden because that does create a dynamic duo of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. They're great guards. You talked about their scoring ability. And James Harden is someone that can be a passer and worked well with Joel Embiid and has worked well with guards in the past. But I am curious, how does this team connect? Especially, I think defensively, since they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, that allows them with Mitchell, who I think plays well defensively, and Harden. They do just enough. They're not fantastic defenders, but they make for it up with their offensive side or offensive ability. So I do think I am curious about how do they build it up together? How do they work together? But I do think this does put them into a contender.
Yeah, I do think there's some concern still regarding part of their roster, especially with the injuries that they've been dealing with. But Jalen Tyson has played very well, and I don't think Garland was going to elevate this team the way that James Harden can. I know Harden's had some bad series in the playoffs, but he's also had some good ones, and the East is extremely weak this season. Having 2 guards that can score as much as they are going to be able to with Harden and Mitchell is going to be extremely interesting. I'm very intrigued with how they mesh together, and I think that meshing will determine how their playoff and finals chances really lay out. But with Mobley and Jared Allen, I mean, James Harden has been very successful with talented offensive big men. And while Jared Allen isn't the greatest big in the world, he's a good defender, a good rebounder, and can catch alley-oops. And Mobley's a great defender, can score a good bit, and this team looks primed to make a run. I do agree with the Clippers kind of getting rid of Harden right now. Now, I don't know if Garland is enough with how Garland has kind of struggled this season, but he still is a promising player, former All-Star. Uh, and they do get a second round pick out of it as well. But I think it's fair for both teams. And I think this was the cleanest exit of Harden's career. They both mutually seemed like they were willing to entertain a trade offer. And obviously, the Cavs were interested in making that happen. So I think the Cavs are contenders this year. I think that this trade, I mean, the Knicks have been up and down this season. The Celtics have been on a good run as of late, but the same thing with the Knicks. But both those teams, I don't feel uber confident in. The Pistons are the best team in the East right now, but they did have a shocking loss to the Wizards and have had some haphazard results. Uh, the other teams I would consider contenders are the Raptors, who are only half a game back of the Cavs right now and are a young squad, but that youth may harm them in the playoffs. And then you have the 76ers, but with the PG suspension and the constant injuries that Joel Embiid obviously has had, I still have my doubts, even with Tyrese Maxey's amazing performances. And they have some good guys around him like VJ Edgecombe and Kelly Oubre and Dominic Barlow, but I think that the Cavs are firmly a top 4 team in the East right now and probably a top 3 contender in my mind because I just don't know how far the Celtics can go without Tatum when it's playoff time.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like the Celtics are playing really well right now at the number 2 spot, but do think Tatum provided a lot in the playoffs and allowed other guys to take advantage of matchups, but now their best defender is going to be on those guys, so it's gonna be difficult without Tatum. And for the Cavaliers, this move speaks to me of winning now because James Harden is a guy. Yes, it was a clean exit, but he's a guy that is not going to be a consistent. Not going to be many years left, especially now as he's 36 years old. So while trading Garland is officially their future, and he was a great player now and part of a teams that were good in the playoffs and were making the playoffs, but this duo of Harden and Mitchell is really for this year and next year, I would say. So I do think it puts him in a great spot for this year and next year.
Yeah, I do agree that this year and next year is definitely what they're looking for, but I do believe that you don't care about more than that if you win a title right now. This is a trade that this is a little bit different than like the AD trade. It obviously had a very small window for the Mavs to be title contenders because of the age of Kyrie and some of these other guys. And obviously, when it didn't work out immediately, they moved off of those guys. But the Harden trade I like a lot because you don't know the next time you're going to have the opportunity for the East to be this week. And even if it is also next year that they're also contenders, it's also like Tatum's not going to be playing his absolute best right after an injury. And it's the same with Tyrese Halliburton right after an injury. So this is the year to go all in if there ever is. And then if you get to the finals, can you win one series? Like that's what you get. That's what you get to. Even if the West is significantly better than the East, you just got to win one series, and that's possible for any team that makes it that far. Anything can happen in one series, and I think this is a very good opportunity. I do find it interesting that, and I have heard this a little bit, like LeBron hasn't obviously said that it's his last season. He doesn't have another year with the Lakers incoming. There's been some discussion there. Does he go to Cleveland next year on a very home friendly deal for one last hurrah in Cleveland? And the roster is Mitchell, like the starting lineup would be Mitchell, Harden, LeBron, Mobley, Jared Allen. I don't know. I'm just spitting stuff out there, but I wouldn't say it's impossible for that to happen because I do think that LeBron would announce when his last season is. I find it a little bit hard to believe that this is his last year, and I also find it hard to believe that he returns to LA because of kind of how the Lakers want to move off of his contract and kind of move into the Lakers run by Luca and kind of getting that going a little bit more than LeBron kind of holding them back.
Yeah, I do think it's a possibility, and I agree LeBron doesn't likely come back to the Lakers, but I do think he would make a show of it. And going more to the Cavaliers point, Garland struggled with injuries too, so there was kind of that worry, and they are a better team now without Garland and Harden. So it would be interesting, and especially next year if they do add LeBron to that mix or another player, because I do think all these guys are under contract for a little bit, so they can make some moves, and LeBron could be one of them.
Yeah, I think the Cavs are contenders for the next 2 years. It's going to take a lot to beat any of these top Western Conference teams, whether it's the Spurs, Rockets, Nuggets, or obviously the Thunder. It's going to take a lot. I think those 4 teams are better than any team in the East currently. But you just got to get there and then see what happens.
Yeah. See what happens, and you always got a shot. You just got to win 4 out of 7. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.